Welcome back, our dear viewers. Yesterday, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi addressed the Biodiversity Summit in China, the COP15. Indeed, a very important issue which is of great concern to the whole world. The President also handed over the presidency of the summit to China, and he said that Egypt will be working and cooperating with China in order to face all the challenges facing the biodiversity issue. And indeed, that challenge of the repercussions of the COVID-19 pandemic. The President also hailed the efforts exerted by the nations around the world in order to face the problem of biodiversity, but he said that much more efforts are needed in order to face this crucial crisis. To shed more light on that issue, we are very much delighted to be joined here in the studio by Dr. Amira Ahmed, our journalist. Good morning, Dr. Amira.
Good morning.
To start with, how do you see the importance of this biodiversity conference in China, the COP15?
Yeah, definitely now the biological diversity deterioration, also ecological collapse are considered the main challenges facing the whole world. Now we are not talking about Africa, Europe or Asia. Now this is, we can say, the spectre that's haunting the whole world now. So when the heads of states and government, they meet together in an international conference, this reflects the seriousness of all political leaderships in different countries to take a real and swift actions. And really, when we are talking about global challenges, it's very important to deal with these challenges from a global and holistic perspective in order to reach practical solutions. You just referred that President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi stressed that now we are experiencing like a critical time like never before, and this required a relentless and unified action from all countries worldwide. But definitely, when we are talking about a global challenge, its impacts, they are more challenging in developing countries. Like in Africa here, it is the most vulnerable to the impacts of biological deterioration and also the climate change. So they require more efforts from developed countries. President Sisi also stressed the paramount importance of changing the patterns of production and consumption in order to curb the negative impacts of climate change and other environmental challenges. So definitely this conference came on critical time, and definitely, especially now with the environmental issues like climate change or biological diversity, they are not just environmental challenge, it's now a developmental challenge. Now it has a direct impact on all development plans of countries. So it's very important to keep biological diversity in order to rebuild the economies of all countries. President Sisi also referred to important reports that have been released in the recent period. For example, the recent report, the global biological diversity outlook, where he said that now it sets off like alarm bells, and now we are facing like a real challenge. Also, if we are talking about the World Economic Forum, it said that the biological diversity, the challenges facing the biological diversity, they are one of the top risks facing the whole world. All these reports stress that now we are really facing a critical time that requires a collective action.
The President also thanked China for its keenness to hold this round of the summit in spite of the severe repercussions of the COVID-19 on the whole world. How we can collaborate efforts, as the President invited the nations around the world to do, in order to face these growing challenges, even which increased by the repercussions of the COVID-19?
Yeah, definitely the ramifications or repercussions of COVID-19, that it has impacted all sectors, the economic, social, environmental sectors, and definitely
everything.
Egypt chaired this conference, the COP conference on biological diversity, for like 3 years, and Egypt has already achieved many like tangible results in this period. On international level, for example, Egypt has both like an ambitious plan that was released in Sharm el-Sheikh Biological Diversity in 2018, and we have taken like more practical steps. We are not talking about vision. We have moved from vision into action. So Egypt really left a remarkable a mark on this file. On African level, Egypt also reached like a joint African action in order to address the biological diversity challenges, and this plan was adopted by the African environment ministers in 2019. Also, in international level, Egypt also like drew the international attention to this file and how to address this challenge. on local level, we have seen that Egypt has taken many steps in order to address this file. For example, we have the national strategy for biological diversity. Egypt also now is switching to green economy in order to protect the environmental sector. Now, now Egypt is delivering or handing over the presidency of this conference to China. So China now has to build on the real or tangible results achieved by Egypt. And also President Sisi stressed in his speech that definitely now it's more challenging to address such challenges, because in the wake of COVID-19, like the physical or face-to-face interaction, it has hampered the holding many conferences. But now we are trying to grapple with such repercussions. So China really, it has a huge responsibility, especially after the tangible impact that achieved by Egypt during its presidency of this conference.
Yes. Also, the challenges which we are facing nowadays are increasing, as we have mentioned, Ms. Amira, Dr. Amira. But what do we expect here from the developed nations?
Yeah.
Because we did not see much efforts done, or to be more precise, the expected efforts done by these developed nations in order to tackle the challenges of the biodiversity till this moment, and from the COP summit which took place here in Sharm el-Sheikh in 2018. What's your take on that?
Yeah, definitely developed countries, they have like a larger responsibility, because if we are talking about climate change, the majority of emissions, they are released by developed countries. If we are talking about biological diversity, also humanity play a major role in, like we can say, to negatively impact the biological and ecological system. When we are talking about developing countries, they are the most vulnerable to the impact of such environmental challenges. So, and they also the least equipped to cope with such challenges. So definitely the developed countries, they have like a large responsibility. For example, the developed countries, they said that they will jointly mobilize like $100 billion in order to help developing countries overcome the impacts of climate change. And we have seen that President Sisi recently, and also the UN meeting on climate change, he said that now the developed countries, they have to keep their pledge to provide such amount of money in order to help the African countries to overcome such challenges. So I think that now the whole world, they are trying to coexist with the COVID-19 impacts, and now we hope that in the upcoming period we will see more tangible action that will be taken on real ground.
Yes. Also, the president in his speech yesterday raised the alarm bell for countries to face the challenges of the climate change, which we have been saying now. So do we expect that to take place in the coming phase and during the presidency of China to the COP?
Yeah, definitely. Now, the issue of biological diversity and climate change, they are linked to each other.
Indeed.
Yeah. So, if you are talking, what is biological diversity? It is a way to keep integration between species within the ecological system in order to keep the balanced life on Earth. So we have seen that now, due to COVID-19, the increasing pollution rates, and also we have seen, like, for example, the random hunting of animals, and also the loss of plants. All these issues, they have like impacted the biological diversity and the ecological system. So now Egypt, as I told you, President Sisi now, he in all conferences, whether on climate change or biological diversity, he stressed the paramount importance to deal with this file as a developmental challenge. It has a direct impact on development plans. And also Egypt is to host the upcoming COP conference on climate change in 2022. So we have seen Egypt now is trying to give this issue a top priority. China as well, definitely it will adopt the same approach in this file. Climate change now, it has reached alarming level, and now we have seen like many wildfires that have taken place in several parts of the world. So now it has become a terrifying reality. So this requires swift action. Yeah.
Indeed, the director of the UN Environment Program said that China's support for the multilateral environmental agenda has stimulated the effort to achieve environmentally friendly, inclusive, and the climate resilient growth around the world. Can you shed more light on that statement?
Yeah. Definitely, the UN it has its own sustainable development agenda, and we have
Indeed.
seen that many SDGs tackle the environmental challenges like climate action, how to keep biological diversity. So the United Nations now is trying like to bring together all decision makers and create link between the decision makers, the civil society, and also citizens in order to create a harmony between the actions that address the climate change and biological diversity. If we highlight what happened in the recent years, we have seen that now the climate finance is now given a top priority. This November there will be COP26 that will be hosted by UK, and the UN is to put the issue of climate finance on the top of this agenda.
Yes.
Definitely, we have to be realistic. We cannot like find swift solutions for financing problems related to the climate file, but it's very important to start. We have to start to move from vision to action. So the UN is committed to implementing its sustainable development agenda, whether on regional or international level. Definitely.
Yes. How is their growth that is associated with the environment and is also able to adapt to the climate change issue?
Yeah, as I told you now, the environmental issues, it has like, we can say, a direct impact on all sectors, economic, social, and political sectors. For example, according to the World Economic Forum, half of the world GDP, it is relying on nature, on environment. So now we are not talking from just an environmental perspective. Yeah. So definitely in the upcoming period, there will be more efforts to find finance to support the environmental causes in all countries, and definitely the developing countries, we hope that in the upcoming period they will have like a robust strategy and a plan in order to mitigate or address the climate change and adopt mitigation procedures. And we have, I want to mention here that it is not only the responsibility of governments, it's also the responsibility of people to adopt like environmentally friendly actions. We have to raise more awareness campaigns because people believe that like climate change or biological diversity is something environmental. It has not like a direct impact on their daily life, but on real ground now the climate change or for example, if you are talking about biological diversity, it has a direct impact on food security, for example. So if there is a biological deterioration in the ecosystem, there will be a real challenge to food security, a matter that will have a direct impact on people's daily life. Yeah.
How, from your viewpoint, Dr. Amira, can we alter the agreements to be translated into, as you have just mentioned, concrete policies and into actions so that we can put nature on the path to recovery and to achieve a vision of living in harmony with the nature? Because also, as President Isi said yesterday, that the health of human beings were greatly affected also due to these biodiversity and climate issues as well.
Yeah,
so,
President Sisi really said that now the COVID-19 pandemic, it has like stress, or it was a living proof that the human is closely linked to environment. He's affected by the surrounding environment. So definitely it's very important holding such conferences on annual basis. Definitely COVID-19 precautionary measures, it has hampered holding some editions of the conferences, but now like holding such conferences on annual basis, it's very important to follow up the implementation of the recommendations of such conferences. And actually President Sisi, for example, we have seen now within just like 1 month, we have seen like in many international conferences, President Sisi stressed the paramount importance of combining efforts to face the environmental challenges, whether climate change or biological diversity. Yeah.
Indeed. How can we reduce the poverty and increase the growth by sustaining a global environment?
Yeah, definitely. Now we have seen like many encroachments on agricultural land. As I told you, what do we mean by biological diversity? We have to keep balance between the different species of the ecological system, animal, wildlife, plants, and also and agriculture and everything. So for example, if we are talking about the agriculture aspect, we have to curb the encroachment on land, agricultural land, because this has a direct impact on, like, for example, on certain plants. For example, random cutting of trees in order to get wood. This has a negative impact on biological diversity. The random hunting of animals, it has put many animals on verge of extinction. So it's very important to put like a legal framework for such issues. There must be like we have say it's must be like real punishments for any action that is against biological diversity. It's very important to increase the number of, for example, natural reserve. And here in Egypt we have like an integrated strategy regarding this file. So it's very important also to curb the air and water pollution in order to keep the balance in our environment. Yeah, definitely.
Dr. Amira, away from the issue of biodiversity, President Sisi also is attending the Visegrad summit in the Hungarian capital Budapest, and he's having many activities there. How do you see also the importance of attending such a summit for Egypt, attending the Visegrad summit in Budapest?
Yeah, the participation of Egypt and the presence of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi in such a summit, it has a great significance. Now the whole world, they are seeing that the great efforts exerted by Egypt, not only in the Middle East but also in Africa, in order to keep peace and security. Now terrorism, peace and security, illegal migration, they are
indeed many important topics actually were discussed of great concern to the whole region, not only for Egypt.
So the participation of Egypt in such conferences is considered like we can say an international recognition of the efforts exerted by Egypt in such important files. As you mentioned, that this summit tackled different or a host of files, including illegal migration, terrorism, and also the political instability in the region, in the Middle East. For example, President Sisi referred to the issue of illegal migration. He said that Egypt adopted a humanitarian approach in dealing with illegal migration. There is no camps for migration in Egypt. It dealt in a civilized way with those migrants.
Indeed.
Meanwhile, also Egypt has strict measures in order to end the phenomena of illegal migration. President Sisi said that now there is no illegal migration in Egypt since 2016, and we have seen the presidential initiative, which is survival boats, in order to end this phenomena. Also, President Sisi said if we are talking about illegal migration, we have to deal with the root causes of such a file.
Indeed.
So he said that terrorism and the waves of terrorism that has like swept many countries was because of the lack or the absence of the concept of political state. President Sisi said that it's very important to keep the political or the harmony and the integration of political institutions inside countries. He referred to the current situation in Libya, Syria, and Iraq.
If there is stability, people won't leave.
Yes, please. And and this will lead to more rates for illegal migration. If there is no instability inside the country, there will be more waves of illegal migration. And also, this is about the international files. Also, President Sisi, in his meeting with the Hungarian counterpart, they dealt with the bilateral ties between the two countries, the ways of deepening cooperation in diverse fields. For example, President Sisi stressed the paramount importance of cooperating in localizing modern technology and also boosting cooperation in industrial field. So it's very important summit, and we have seen like many international and local issues were tackled in this summit.
Yes. Also, the Visegrad Group Summit is also to bolster and to promote ties with the group, which include Poland, Hungary, Slovakia, as well as the Czech Republic.
Yeah.
So how do you see our participation and our ties with these countries, Dr. Amira?
Yeah, definitely Egypt now is trying to fostering a fruitful partnership with all countries worldwide. If you are talking about these countries in particular, we have seen also a Hungarian president. He said that Egypt is the most important partner for Hungary in the Middle East. And also Egypt has like unique ties with Poland and also Hungary. Egypt now is trying, for example, to benefit from the experiences of developing countries and also transfer its experiences to other countries. Egypt has an ambitious economic reform program, for example, and now Egypt is trying to facilitate and eliminate any obstacle that may hamper investments here in Egypt. So such conferences, it's very important to open up new horizons for cooperation, whether in economic field or other sectors. Yeah, and I think that in the upcoming period we will see more cooperation protocols will be signed. Yeah.
Yes. Finally, what is the significance of our participation here for the second time in this summit?
Yeah, as I told you, it is considered like a real recognition of the effort exerted by Egypt and Africa and the Middle East. Also, Egypt's participation in such summits, and also President Sisi tried to highlight the main issues that is facing the Middle East. It's very important in order to create a link between the Middle East and also other countries. For example, President Sisi referred to the vital role played by the European Union, and he said that we need more efforts by such international community in order to face terrorism and illegal migration. Yeah. So it's very important, really.
Yes, Dr. Amira, finally, the economic part here in that summit was important, actually, between Egypt and the other states of the Visegrad, and with Hungary in particular, because it is, of course, the hosting country. So how do you see the economic ties here?
Yeah. Definitely, the economies of all countries, they were negatively impacted by the repercussions of COVID-19. So now all countries, they are trying to rebuild their economies. Regarding the bilateral economic ties between Egypt and Hungary, we have seen that both countries, they have a genuine will to open up new horizons for economic cooperation. For example, the trade volume between Hungary and Egypt increased this year despite the impacts of COVID-19. Also, Egypt is trying to invite more companies from Hungary to invest in the mega development projects implemented in Egypt, whether in the new administrative capital, in the Suez Canal economic zone.
Yeah.
So I think that such talks will be, and they are already being translated into real cooperation in the economic field. Yeah.
Indeed, Dr. Amira Ahmed, our very dear journalist, always a pleasure to have you with us and to listen to your precious input. Thank you very much for being with us
Super honored to be with you. Thank you.
Our viewers, with that, we come to the end of this edition of The Breakfast Show. You were in the company of myself, Maisti Rabia, and my dear colleague Amal Mukhtar. We are signing off, and till tomorrow with another crew. It's goodbye and have a very good day.